Coming up on this episode of Locked On Rangers, I am joined again by Grant Schiller. It's been a few weeks. We talk about the middle 10 prospects on my top 30 list. We also talk a little bit about the labor negotiations, where they're going, where they're not going, all that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We have Jason Morabello.
Yes. So I liked my very small look at him. I don't know that he knows or the team knows if he's a shortstop or a left fielder or a center fielder or a second baseman at this point, but he's got twitchy athleticism, which is what you want in a baseball player. I saw him take a good college arm, 95 up in the zone, turn on it, pull it yard.
Oh, you saw him go yard?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Very yard. Very yard.
He didn't just go regular yard, and he was 17 years old at the time.
He went very yard. So I was impressed from what I saw from him, just from an athleticism standpoint. Obviously, with kids that young, there's always a long ways to go.
There was decent numbers on him, and he kind of. I want to put this comp on him, which is a weird comp, but I think fitting. He signed at the same time. He's the Rangers' Dominican. Did he sign a Dominican or did he sign out of Venezuela? No, DR. But he's their Dominican Evan Carter, because they were both kind of under the radar. Everyone's like, oh, why'd you pay that much for that guy? They both play center field, have ridiculous baseball sense for their age, and outperformed at a level. Like, he had a 395 OBP and 229 plate appearances. Like, I like that. He also had 6 triples and 30 walks and 25 strikeouts as a 17-year-old in the Dominican Summer League. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what do you think they're going to do with him next year? Because I don't know. Did they start him in the Rookie League? Would they start him in low A?
Complex ball.
Okay.
I would almost guarantee he'll be in complex ball next year.
When does the complex? Because I thought the complex league started in like June.
It's a couple
does
weeks
it,
after
like,
the draft.
Okay. Because what are they going to do with him in the meantime? Are they just gonna?
Go out in Arizona, play some inter squads on the backfield, play against some other complex teams unofficially. We've got a large group of guys that they always keep out there in the spring training complex.
So they're still getting
actual complex league. Yeah.
Plenty of reps. Well, that's good. It would have been real aggressive for them to go put an 18-year-old in low A.
Just in the Frisco.
I'm saying they've done it before with an 18-year-old in low A. I mean,
they have, but it takes a very special 18-year-old for him to do it.
I mean, you're saying he's not Jerickson Profar level?
I am saying that. I'm saying he's better than that.
Wow. You never saw Jerickson Profar take somebody yard at age 17.
That's right. I never saw it. So
actually, I'm assuming that you never saw it. I didn't want to.
I did not. So I just assume he never did it.
Well, that's fair. It's entirely possible that he never did it. But this middle third, like the bottom third of this group, like there's a lot of guys that are. Well, there's Bradford. I probably should have had higher. Sadly, I didn't know what the heck to do with, but I felt good about where I ended up putting him.
Yeah.
But outside of like Colley, Bradford, and Sadducee, I guess Yeri too. But there's a lot of like, I don't know. These guys are probably gonna be big leaguers, but I don't know what to what capacity. Like, they're kind of enigmatic. This is the one where I feel like these guys, I feel pretty good about all of them being big leaguers. Like, I feel pretty solid on that. I mean, Wenzel, I felt really solid about him being a big leaguer, but like a starter on a good team, I don't know. But I'm like, I think I said it there. Outside of the top 10, like, he's the guy who I'm most sure is going to have like at least a 5-year big league career.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't at least appear in 5 seasons. There's 5 years service time and 5 years.
That's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd be surprised if he didn't. He's a good enough hitter, and he's got enough versatility. He's going to be valuable in some capacity.
With Enriquez, like he was these middle three, all these pitchers right in here. All there's like I guess half of them are like pitchers.
Oh, they're all really.
There no more than half of them. 6 of the middle 10 are pitchers. I mean, Enriquez, Alexi Kent, Otto, Vanasco, Roby. Of that group, who do you think has the highest ceiling? Is it Vanasco or is it Roby?
It's one of those two. I can tell you that.
Roby's at least got a third pitch, and he is younger. That was my other concern with Vanasco. Like I like him, but he's 23.
So I think most people would say Vanasco. I think I would go out on a limb and say Roby, but it's really close in terms of ceiling between those two.
Yeah. I mean, I feel good about Roby's other pitches, and I probably should have had him a little higher, but you know what? Whatever, I didn't. So
just say you didn't like his arm path. Be like, I'm worried about his injuries. I don't like his arm path. 19.
Yes, all of the many things that I say. The most upsetting thing about this whole thing is, oh yeah, Zavala, the guy who they got in the draft, so he's a little bit older, born in the year 2000. I'm like, you monster.
You're old.
You absolute monster. It's fine. We're all fine. He's 21 years old, born in this millennia. That I gotta use that while I can before it starts being flipped on us. Of like, oh man, you're so old. You were born in a different millennia. Like they don't just get to pull like the last century. Like kids who were born in like 1905, they could be like, oh, mom, you're so old. You're born in the last century. It's like no, we're the last millennia. Like. That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
That's right. I didn't think about that.
Jeez. Anyway, let's get to a little bit of the lack of labor agreement. But one of the latest thing that came out from Evan Drellich is, according to his sources, this was at 3:49 on February 3rd, MLB has told the MLBPA it will not make a counteroffer after MLB 2 days ago saying it would. So it's looking like MLBPA is like willing to negotiate. Like they're at least willing to like compromise and kind of come halfway. And that was one of the things that I was like, okay, well they're like, I understand them being entrenched, the PA, like it makes sense. They've caved so much on the past agreements, but now even when they're willing to like cave a little bit after being so strong to start with, owners are like, you know what? No, we're going to do the same stupid thing we always did. Like, why do they do this?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, both sides have made non-competitive offers, and, like, at the end of the day, it's on the commissioner to find a solution that works for everybody. I don't know. Like, I don't have much to say. It just sucks. Like, Manfred sucks. It sucks. Baseball's going to be delayed, it looks like. I don't know. Just figure it out.
This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the new year. That means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, Built Bar, you got to include that in your plan. Built Bar, it's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's delicious. It's nutritious. It's downright lack of suspicious. I don't know. I always keep trying to do that rhyme, but it never, ever seems to work. But you know what does work? Eating Built Bars. They work so well for if you're trying to eat a little bit healthier, if you're not as great about going to the gym, or it's incredibly cold like it is today, then you don't want to go outside. You don't want to go all the way to the gym, put on your gym clothes and your coats and do all that nonsense. Instead, you just stay at home, eat some Built Bars, hunker down in the snow, put all in a blanket, and, don't eat so much junk food. You can eat something that tastes just as good as the junk food, but is also good for you. It's Built Bars. Most of those Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that with a candy bar that has just 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, dozens of net carbs. That's not nearly as good for you as Built Bar. Plus, Built Bar is a protein bar. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
I have no confidence in them to figure it out, though.
No, I have no confidence either. And I'm like, at least we got one good full normal season last year, but it was the worst freaking season the Rangers have had since the 1970s. even the old ballpark was like 20 years away from being built when the Rangers sucked that bad last. And like the thing is, it's not just affecting players and owners and fans. Like it's affecting, well, make this about myself, me, because I was planning on going on spring training this year. Like I wanted to do that. I was finally in a place where I could like, save up enough money and try and take some equipment and actually get some like really good guests and go do that. But I can't plan on that now. Like I can't set aside time off. I can't spend money on booking a hotel or whatever because I don't know who's going to be there and when, if they're going to be there at all. So like it just sucks.
Yeah. The minor leaguers should still be there, but nothing on the big league side.
Exactly. So like it's just frustrating. It's just those little things, and I'm not the only person who is probably in this exact same situation, but like it just sucks. It is really upsetting that I couldn't go do this, but and all of you listeners are missing out. Blame ownership. I don't know. Write them an email saying, hey, actually, no, don't write them an email. They won't care. They won't care at all. Clearly, they have shown that they don't care about baseball fans. They just care about the short-term money that they're making, not even the long-term investment that they're making in the sport, which is honestly almost the more frustrating part is that, well, it's not the more frustrating part. The most frustrating part is that we're going to get less baseball because the owners are being, blockheads. But it's also even more frustrating because they're hurting their own product. Like if more people watch more baseball games and you make the money, if you get to put your players' names, image, and likenesses on your website and sell their jerseys and stuff, then you will make more money. Like it's really not that difficult a concept, but the owners who, everyone says like, oh, the rich people, they must be rich because they were smart and they're so smart about doing business stuff. Like some of them are probably, but like some of them are just dumb people who got lucky or inherited a lot of money or, I don't know, created the internet at the right time, whatever. I don't know how people get rich, obviously, because I'm a podcaster, but but still, it's just like, it's such a frustrating cycle and there being fewer and fewer updates about it. It's just more upsetting. But I was kind of hoping that February, getting close to spring training, would kind of kickstart things, and it just does not seem like that's the case. They are at least meeting, which it took them longer than I thought to meet. I thought they'd start meeting more like the middle of January. Mm-hmm. And so they'd be talking for like 2 weeks, and I thought it'd take like 3-4 weeks. I thought like they might meet like, I don't know, January like 10th. Because I think they should have been meeting the whole time. They should have. Like it's pretty telling the level of care they have in making sure games happen, and there's a fair deal in that we get to watch baseball versus we want to win this negotiation, in that they didn't meet until almost February. It's so dumb. They've had years to do this, like years. Yeah, and they just like didn't talk about it like at all, like the whole time. They just kind of, half-weighed it last year. I mean, even last year it drug out so long and it was so stupid and frustrating. Like, we only had a 60-game season. We could have had a lot more, but we didn't. So there we go. And this year, and let me tell you, if that was a full season, that Rangers team's going all the way. If we had more time to come back, more time. Dietrich would have led them to the glory. Oh God, Derek Dietrich. We'd have gotten more than one inning of Corey Kluber. Would have come back and been his same Cy Young self. Yeah. I remember when he first got hurt, and they're like, "Yeah, no, he's thinking like if he can rehab it quickly, come back as a reliever for the playoffs." And I'm like, playoffs. Yeah. Even with that expanded time, like I think we all knew, like despite that like hot start, like, oh, this was fun, and then immediately the grand slams that changed it all. Mm-hmm. Honestly, thank God for that. Then the Rangers wouldn't have gotten Jack Leiter. They might have farted around and tried to do something and wouldn't have gotten Jack Leiter. Yeah, that would have been so much worse. Although they might still have a functional Anderson Tejeda, so win some, you lose some. Maybe. Maybe you do. I don't know. I'd still rather have a Jack Leiter than a functional Anderson Tejeda. I mean, as much as I liked him, he still had several flaws.
Yeah.
That might have still ended up being the same thing, even without a Jack Leiter. Who would the Rangers have ended up with? I mean, maybe they could have had the Dallas shortstop that I wanted that fell all the way to 7 for some stupid reason. It's fine. We're all fine here. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered the season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march to the playoffs right to the big game in a couple weeks. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this offseason. It's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, with real-time live updates on current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these new amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. Then that defeated shrug means it's time for something fun. The Random Rangers segment.
Yes, sir.
Do you have yours picked out? Because I have mine, and I have a prop.
I do. Okay. Well, I'll let you be the grand finale then.
Okay, yeah. Let me show you up.
So I'm gonna go with. Actually, it was a 19-year big leaguer, Jamie Wright.
Huh.
He spent 2 years in Texas, threw 161 innings, had a 4.41 ERA. This was in 07-08. He was kind of a he was an important swing man his first year, and then the second year he was more of a one-inning guy. He was fine here, but he was interesting. Listen to this career path.
Okay.
So Colorado to Milwaukee to St. Louis to Kansas City, back to Colorado to San Francisco to Texas, back to Kansas City to Cleveland to Seattle to Los Angeles to Tampa, back to Los Angeles.
Huh.
He
I kept waiting for another back to Kansas City.
Well, I think he might have gone back to coach with them.
That would be...
But he got around. He was pretty decent for the Rangers.
Well, that's solid. This guy, is that all you had to say about your man's?
I am wrong. He went back to the Dodgers as a pitching coach.
Okay.
Not the Royals.
All right, that makes sense. That was the last place where he pitched. But this guy, I actually just talked about him earlier this week, so he's not as random as he would have been had I not brought him up. But he was in my top 10 drafted players with the Rangers. He played in Texas for 7 years, from 1982 all the way to 1988, which is a very random time frame for the Rangers. This guy was drafted in the 15th round out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Okay. He is 63 years old. I think he's still alive. Yeah. First baseman / outfielder, Pete O'Brien. Now, the reason I bring up Pete O'Brien, because I got a random gift from my grandfather who's moving and downsizing, and a caught foul ball signed by Pete O'Brien somewhere on here. Where'd we go? I don't know. So somewhere on here, or it was authenticated. Maybe it wasn't signed, but it is authenticated and sealed in this fancy plastic. So
that's awesome. Have you ever gotten a foul ball?
No,
or a home run ball?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. So this is my grandfather's trophy, showing that at one point my family contained athleticism, but through years of poor genetic choices, I guess, I became me and lost that. I don't know. Maybe it was mutated that all my athleticism would happen once water touched me. It's all my coordination is when I'm in the water. Like I played water polo and I was coordinated there, but you asked me to like throw and catch ball and have hand-eye coordination outside of the water. It's like something about the chlorine once it like the smell like heightens my senses.
Soaks in and you like.
It's like I don't know. There's some superhero like
power
he hits like something. It's like super like the with the limitless drug or whatever. That's chlorine for me. Chlorine is my limitless drug. Ugh, that's like a swimmer t-shirt that a bunch of high school kids would buy. New business idea. For a 2007. I don't think the kids nowadays would get the reference, but man, if I sold that in high school, that would have been that would have made a lot of money.
Okay. We're gonna modernize it. Chlorine is our Project Power drug.
What's Project Power?
It was a happy Jamie Foxx Netflix movie a couple years back that was very similar to Limitless.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think I heard
So,
about that.
We'll throw that out there.
Modernize
That's
it
how
for
we
the
become-
kids.
That's how we become billionaires. Buy our own baseball team. Make the negotiations go better.
And become trillionaires. Buy all the baseball teams.
Ooh, okay.
Fix the whole system.
Have everybody with the Rangers tank. Win every year.
Yeah. Yeah. Still maintain ownership of everything because, we are pure of heart. And the trillions would not corrupt us. Not in the least bit.
Not at all.
We'd also fix the whole earth with our trillions, not just baseball. Baseball obviously comes first. Like, we got to have our priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Then we worry about, like, the world hunger and, like, the global warming and war and...
somewhere in there, we fund A&M's recruiting.
No. They've clearly got enough. They clearly got enough of money. We fund Texas Tech's recruiting. Fund Texas Tech. No.
They need it. They need it.
I've given them enough of my money. Even if I become a trillionaire. No, you've taken enough of my money. And yeah, I feel like me ranting about tuition expenses is a great enough way to end the podcast. But Grant, thank you so much for coming on. Missed you. We didn't have any beef in case you were worried that we had beef. We had scheduling conflicts and also a little bit of laziness on my part. So, but he's back and I don't know, maybe we'll have him back on eventually again. Before another month passes, and even maybe by the next time you're on, if another 2 or 3 weeks pass, then some progress will be made. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll at least have something different to talk about then, no matter what it is, whether it's next week or next month or, God forbid, next year. That would never happen. But Grant, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for listening. Again, if you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. Follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Follow Grant at OG Shill. And subscribe on YouTube. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.